What's up, Chainsaw Men and women? I'm Dakota, shit for brains, whatever you want to call me, and today I'm bringing you all back in for Chainsaw Man Volume 9 review. And let me tell you, today's volume is fucking crazy to say the least. I'm recording this from the future because my mic had problems, and so with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. And we're going to start this review with Chapter 71, titled Bath. Now, this chapter starts off about a day or maybe anywhere between a day and a week after the results of the battle between Chainsaw Man and the Doll Devil. We see as Denji's laid up in bed with Power cuddled up next to him and Meowie in the bed with them. And Denji doesn't really look like he got much sleep while Power's kind of curled up with her head in his lap, and she is asleep, but wow, does he look tired. And he gets up and he walks into the kitchen where he meets Aki, and Aki tells him good morning, but he just says that he wasn't really able to sleep very much because Power just kept on screaming. And it's at this point that we really realize that it's kind of gonna be a somber chapter, and it's gonna be a somber little bit because we've suffered a lot of losses. And we see that because we see Aki with only one arm. Yeah, after the battle, whenever the Darkness Devil removed everybody's arms, only one of Aki's arms actually was able to stick back on. And Denji, says that this is a good thing and that Aki can still cook, but Aki's just kind of like, this is the only good thing that's happened, because we get a tiny little recap. Neither one of Angel's arms stuck back on, Shark is dead, and Violence is dead too, which, I'm gonna be honest, kind of sucks for me because I really did like Violence. Shark, I thought Shark was a funny character. I thought he was cool, I kind of grouped him in with the boys, but I just kind of liked Violence's character a whole lot and really was looking forward to seeing where he went, but I guess that's dead in the water, isn't it? But as if those things weren't enough, Kobeni also already turned in her resignation. And on top of all that, Power's been having night terrors and kind of been freaking out, and nobody in the house has really been able to be getting any sleep because Power keeps screaming and waking up in cold sweats and just all around being terrified because she thinks that the Darkness Devil is trying to take her back to hell and is waiting for her and is watching her. And as we get all of this, we actually see Power wake up in terror and start screaming, and as Denji comes over there trying to comfort her, he gets down onto the bed with her and tries to grab her hands because she's like pulling at her mouth because she thinks that the Darkness Devil is in her mouth watching her. And Denji assures her that he isn't, but she just calls him a liar because she just can't see past the fear that she's feeling. But Denji eventually calms her down and convinces her to come to the table and eat. And we start to realize that Power's just kind of relying solely on Denji right now. She can't really do anything by herself because of how terrified and traumatized she is from the entire event in hell. And so even at the table, Denji's having to help feed her own plate. And she throws up, but I think that's more because she was forced to eat vegetables than anything. And Aki says that Makima must be really powerful because she's still planning on going to that trip that we were talking about all those chapters ago. And we get a flashback where Makima asked Denji, have you went to see Hayakawa, which is Aki, in the hospital yet? And Denji's like, yeah, I went and saw him, and he said he didn't like his hospital food, so I went ahead and ate it for him. And she congratulates him on being able to eat not only a day after his head got cut off, but Denji just says you gotta eat to survive. And Makima offers him to come with her on that trip, but as Denji's saying, hell yeah, I'll go, he starts to think about it, and he's like, actually, I don't think I can. Power's really been in a funk ever since what happened with the Darkness Devil, and she kind of been relying on me. She kind of needs me. And Makima says, oh, well, you can just drop her off at a public safety division facility. And Denji thinks on it, but then we cut back to the present, and Aki asks him why he didn't go, and he says that he kind of doesn't know, and he even thinks that he doesn't know, but we get a zoom in shot on the closet that houses all three of their clothes, Aki, Power, and Denji, and it's kind of made apparent to us that Denji has really started to grow very attached to Aki and Power. And so we follow Denji around as he goes through with his day-to-day life, basically babysitting Power because she kind of needs it right now. And Denji's being a really good friend, and we kind of get to see the non-existent boundaries between him and Power. Because Power does things like walk in on him while he's in the bathroom and ask if he can go check the door for him because she thinks that the Darkness Devil is there. And he's like, no, it's not. Let me use the bathroom. And then she asks him to wait by the bathroom while she goes because she's too scared, and he's like, well, as long as you flush, whatever. And it even goes as far as her asking him to take a bath with her because she's scared to sit in the bathtub alone. And the old Denji would have jumped at this. The old Denji would have just been so excited to finally be able to take a bath with a girl that he would have been seeing red, but Denji doesn't seem to be seeing red right now. He seems to just be more worried about helping a friend in need. Because as they're in the shower, and yes, Fujimoto drew them in the shower, so if you want to see that, go check out chapter 71 of Chainsaw Man on Viz. It's $5 a month. I mean, it's worth the subscription if you ask me. Not sponsored. But we watch as Denji helps scrub Power's back and wash her back, and she does the same for him, but the whole time she just keeps saying that the Darkness Devil is behind her, that she's scared that the Darkness Devil is right there sneaking up on her, and Denji has to watch her back for her, so while he washes her back, he's watching her back too. Kind of funny. And even when they're in the bathtub together, Denji even makes a mental note that this is weird because it doesn't feel naughty at all. And Power makes a joke about how she's scared of naughty things and grabs onto him, but these two seem really, really close, but it does not seem to be in a sexual kind of way. It seems like they're best friends, like they have been for a long time, but I'm starting to think that Power's growing some romantic feelings towards Denji, probably because Denji's been there for her in this time of need. And so Denji helps Power get dressed, and Aki tells him that they'll sleep in 3-hour shifts, and if Power starts thrashing around, to call for him and he'll come and help. And so they go and lay in Denji's bed. You can tell it's Denji's bed because he has all the fucking naughty posters lying around and the naughty mags all next to his bed, so we know what you're like, Denji. We know whose bed this is. And as they lie there, Power gets a little bit serious and says, please don't hate me. And Denji's like, what are you even talking about, dude? You're not even making any sense. And Power's like, because I made it to where you couldn't go on your trip with Makima. Just please don't hate me. And he's like, how about you apologize for hitting me with a fucking car? And she's like, I didn't do that, so she's sort of seeming a little bit more normal now, but she tells Denji that as compensation for keeping him from going on his trip with Makima, he gets the magnificent prize of drinking Power's blood. And Denji's like, I don't want your fucking blood, dude. What are you talking about? And Power's like, no, you have to, because if you don't, you'll hate me. And starts making a big scene about it. She starts wailing and whining, and Denji's like, fine, whoopee, woo me, yeah, I get to drink your blood, that's awesome. And she pulls down her shoulder, and Denji goes and he bites her shoulder and I guess drinks her blood. But in his thought bubbles, we can see that Makima said that it feels better to do naughty things when you know that person, but this doesn't feel good at all, and he knows Power really, really well. And he comes to the conclusion that some things you just shouldn't know about somebody, like the assassins that came to get him. If he knew what was happening in their personal lives and any of their backstories, he probably would have felt pretty crappy whenever they died. And so we come to the end of the chapter as he stands in that black void with the door, and he says, there's some things that you gotta know, and some things that you just are better not knowing. And he stands in front of this door where Pochita has been speaking to him from inside of his mind, inside of that dream, and he says, whatever's behind this door, I don't want to know. And so day comes, and now we have Aki telling Power and Denji that he's gonna be gone for a couple of days, probably about 3, and he's gonna make some food and leave it in the fridge. And if they get hungry, they can microwave it. It should be good until he gets back. But Power and Denji are like, "Yo, hold up, what? You're going somewhere? We want to come?" And he's like, "I'm going to visit a grave. I'm going to Hokkaido. I don't think y'all really want to be there. It's not like I'm going on vacation." And Denji's like, "Well, our trip got canceled and we want to go somewhere, so let us come with you. And besides, Powie's feeling way better." And Power's like, "Yes, I am feeling way better." Love Power. But Aki's like, "Well, who's gonna take care of Meowie while we're gone?" And we just smash cut to Kishibe holding Meowie in a fucking cat carrier, which is the funniest thing I think I've seen all day. Can't believe Kishibe was the fucking cat sitter. And they're all thanking him like, "Hey, I appreciate this. What kind of souvenir do you want?" And you know Kishibe, he's just like, "Alcohol. Bring me more booze and we're all fair and square." And so we get to see them riding the train to Hokkaido. Power's getting some salmon meals. They're playing in the snow. I think they're swinging in one of the panels. Scratch that. Power is swinging on 2 of the oh shit handles that the trains have at the top. I don't know what y'all call them. I call them oh shit handles. They're the handles that are at the top of cars usually, except on trains they're the circle ones. So I guess that's how she's swinging on them. And at some point Power got seasick even because they had to take the bullet train, then a boat, then the bus. And while they were on the boat, we just see Power puking over the side. So poor her, dude. Poor her. And we eventually see them arrive at the Hayakawa family grave. And as Aki's paying his respects, he's like, "Dang, it's a little quiet here. Where'd my 2 fucking rapscallions run off to?" And he turns around just to see Power and Denji munching down. And he's like, "What the hell are you guys eating? We're at a gravesite, dude." And they're like, "Oh, we just stole somebody's offerings and we're just eating that." And it's at this point Power realizes that they were all rotten and she's throwing up again, but Denji's fine. Denji's eating rotten food. So he's like, "Yeah, no, that figures." And Aki's just left standing there like, what the fuck, dude? And so we cut to them at the inn, and they're all dressed in robes, getting ready and eating dinner, and Power's being picky as always, and she's just moving everything off of her plate and onto Denji's because it's mainly vegetables. So she's calling it the worst inn ever, as Denji's like, "Hey, I'll eat it all, I don't care." But when she realizes that it was 90% vegetables, and now what she has left isn't going to fill her up, she just snatches Denji's arm and takes a big bite into it and starts sucking his blood. And Denji's like, "Yo, dude, if you're gonna suck my blood, at least give me a fucking heads up first." And Power's like, "No, it's my blood. That's what you don't understand. This is my arm. I'm sorry, I own it." And so we cut a little bit later in the night, and Denji wakes up in the middle of the night, and Power's sprawled out across the bed because they had 3 pallets laying next to each other, and Denji's under her as he wakes up and realizes that Aki's not there, and he looks over and Aki's sitting at the window staring out of it. And so Denji's like, "What's up with you, man? You all lost in the view?" And Aki just tells him to shut it and says that usually every time he comes to Hokkaido, every year, he gets majorly depressed because he can only remember all of the bad things that happened with his family. But this year it was different because Power and Denji were so freaking stupid that he didn't have time to be depressed. It was weird, and Denji doesn't really know how to take this as a compliment or an insult, so he's just like, "You're welcome?" ? But that's the end of that scene, which it was heartwarming. I'm glad that Aki's warming up to Power and Denji too, because we know Aki doesn't have long to live. Last time he checked, it was 2 years, so I'd like him to get closer to Power and get closer to Denji before he eventually has to kick the bucket. And boom, we're back from vacation, and Aki's picking up the cat from Kishibe, and of course Kishibe calls it a pussycat. Honestly, I can definitely see Kishibe calling a cat that just for the shits and giggles that he gets to say the word, you know. I bet he gets a little bit of a chuckle from it, even if he doesn't actually show anybody that he's chuckling. And he asks how seeing the grave was, and Aki's just like, it was more exhausting than fighting devils, dude. You know how it is. And Kishibe's like, yeah, Denji and Power is a big handful. I'm not really even sure how you took them, but Aki's like, no, it wasn't that. I mean, they listen a lot more. They're a lot better than they used to. Denji actually listens when I tell him what to do, and Power doesn't throw vegetables anymore. But things get really serious really quick, because as Aki realizes that he likes Denji and Power a bit more now, and that he's actually pretty fond of them, he gets super serious in tone and says, Captain Kishibe, I'd like for Division 4 to withdraw from the Gun Devil extermination team. And Kishibe's like, well, I'm surprised. I thought you'd be one of the first raring to get at it. He says that all the spots that were taken by the men that Santa Claus killed are going to be filled by other teams. And Aki's like, I'm aware of that. And he says, and plus, we're going to have our best devil hunters out there, so Division 4 wouldn't be fighting alone. We'd actually probably be able to fight the Gun Devil on equal footing. And Kishibe says that Gun Devil information is top secret. It's classified. And so if Aki pulls out, he will never get any more Gun Devil information until it's available to the public, meaning that if he pulls out right now, even if the Gun Devil is successfully exterminated, it'll be years before Aki knows if it was even taken out or not, and asks Aki if he's still okay with pulling out. And Aki's like, yes, I am. And Kishibe's like, okay, that's fine. I'll inform the higher-ups that Division 4 wants to pull out and not be part of the extermination team. It was experimental anyways, so it was kind of more of a joke than a real squad. But then he asks Aki why he wants to pull out in the first place after telling him to catch the tab for him. And Aki just has a flash, a glimpse of Power's dead body and Denji's dead body. And he just says, I got cold feet. And to end off that scene, we get a callback where Kishibe tells Aki that he's went and gotten a whole lot more saner himself, hasn't he? But enough of all that sweet mumbo jumbo. No, we're here in Chainsaw Man for the chaos. And so Aki comes home to see Meowie and Power and Denji being loud and causing the biggest ruckus that they can. As he walks in, and he's like, what the hell's happening here? And Denji's like, hey, we cooked for you. Which Aki and I both know that's not a good thing. And he looks at the plate, which looks disgusting, and he's like, what is it? And he's like, oh, that stir-fry thing with egg and sausage and all kinds of stuff, and like soy sauce and stuff. And Aki's like, what the fuck is this purple vine? And Denji's like, probably something that Power threw in? Maybe a secret ingredient? And Power says that we made it just for you, so you better clean your plate. And Denji agrees, and Aki, I guess thinking that this was a really sweet gesture, is like, okay. And he sits down and he goes to give it a try, and he picks some up and he puts it in his mouth, and he immediately throws up. And Denji and Power are like, yep, it's a catastrophe, but at least now we've all puked. And so we're on to the next day, or next couple days. We don't really know. All we know is people are waking up. And so we start with Denji and Aki both lying on each side of Power, and as she comes to, they're both like, hey, you stopped screaming in your sleep last night. What was that about? And Power, I guess, has completely lost her frickin' mind. But it's a good thing, because she's like, you know what? Looking back on it, I might have defeated the Darkness Devil in Hell. And so Denji's just like, yeah, sure, buddy. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Literally, whatever helps you sleep at night, please. We all need it. And he doesn't actually say that, but he might as well have. And so Power just looks on like super happy with herself, content. And so fast forward a little bit through the day, and Denji and Aki are washing dishes, and Aki says, I'm going to be returning to work tomorrow. Can you and Power, hang in there? Are y'all gonna be okay? And Denji's like, we'll probably be fine. And Power's like, we will definitely be A-okay. And he's like, okay, well, but the conversation gets cut a little bit short because the phone starts ringing. And so I guess they answered the phone, and we get to cut to the next scene because they're walking towards the public safety division right now. And in fact, they're walking into Makima's room. And so as they walk in, Aki's like, excuse me, Miss Makima, but what is this about? And Makima's like, I heard from Kishibe. And Makima says that as Aki has requested, Division 4 has been removed from the Gun Devil Extermination Squad. But, and this is a big but, Denji and Power are still going to be fighting in the Gun Devil Extermination team because she would like to get some more standing with Division 4 and legitimize them a little bit more, show people what they're actually capable of. And she lets him know that what she actually called them here today for was to share information regarding the case of the Gun Devil. And so if Aki is not going to join with the Gun Devil Extermination team, he needs to leave, but Denji and Power need to stay. And while Aki is pondering about the fact that Makima has seen through the entire charade he's been doing and completely made it useless by going ahead and taking Denji and Power anyways, when that's the whole reason he didn't want to go in the first place, Denji pipes up and says, I'm gonna do it. I've got things that I want to do. Talking about banging Makima, of course, you fucking simp. He says, I've got reasons to do this. I've been waiting for it for a long time. And Power's like, yeah, and I'll do it too because Denji's my buddy. Showing some camaraderie here. I love to see it. And so after seeing that both of these people that he was trying to take out of the battle to protect were actually really raring and willing to go, Aki asks, hey, Miss Makima, I'm sorry to do this, but can I please join again? And so Makima's just kind of like, yeah, I was hoping that you'd say that. And though Aki is still wary about the situation and not really wanting to go through with it and is kind of being forced into it, even though he's built up to this for ever so long, now he has more people that he wants to protect, and he can't protect them because of the very thing that he's been swearing after for revenge for the people that he couldn't protect previously. And it's kind of a cycle that I'm betting Aki is also realizing and wanting to step out of. And Makima's like, Power and Denji are going to need a guardian anyways, kind of because Makima knows that Power and Denji are loose cannons. And while Aki ponders the fact that, wow, this is happening again because I've chased this thing for revenge for so long, I'm going to kill the people that I met along the way who now I care about as a family, and it's just going to be this endless cycle. That isn't said. I'm just kind of reading too deep into things right now. She says that why she called everybody here today was to discuss private information about the case with the Gun Devil, and none of this information needs to leave this room. As of now, the Gun Devil has already been defeated and confined. And obviously, this throws everybody through a loop. They're like, what? Whoa, you just pulled my tail for all of this for no good fucking reason? What the hell, Makima? And Makima says that by the time the Soviets actually saw and sighted the Gun Devil, that it was already unconscious and lying there for a while. And then she goes on to state some facts about who owns what pieces of the Gun Devil, and I'm gonna have to read this. She says that 20% of the Gun Devil's body is possessed by America. 28% is owned by the Soviets, 11% are owned by China, and 4% by other countries, which leaves the remaining 37% held by devils around the world as flesh pieces. And Aki's like, nuh-uh, no way, you're lying, because what about the guns that killed Kurosei and all the other people? And Makima says that those were all man-made. But Aki's like, well, what do you mean they're all man-made? The manufacturing of guns has been outlawed in most countries. And Makima's like, yes, but they were man-made. And the people that actually have those guns say that they were obtained by the gun devil, but they weren't. Each and every country secretly manufactures guns and distributes them throughout networks and then claims that it was for the gun devil. And Aki says this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but Makima's like, does it? Because even before the gun devil, nations were funneling arms throughout their country for a similar purpose. And Aki's like, well, the fear of guns will just keep rising. And Makima's like, exactly, as it should. Because then the people with more parts of the gun devil, the people with more possession of different pieces of the gun devil will have the upper hand in any kind of conflict. And it finally hits Aki as he says, but that means, Makima says, yes, going after the gun devil will mean some sort of war. And so we cut to a little bit after this meeting when the three of our guys are just sitting on a park bench, and Denji and Power are looking over at Aki, who seems a little bit bummed out and asking like, what's wrong? It's not that big of a deal. It's just go kill and then go home, right? And Denji even accuses him of being scared, but Aki says that what they're doing isn't killing the gun devil. Even if they go after the gun devil and they defeat it, it won't actually ever be killed. It'll just be taken into the possession of the Public Safety Division, which means that the gun devil won't actually be killed. It'll just be empowering Japan. And Denji's like, well, what's that supposed to mean? And Aki says that it can't be killed. No matter what, the gun devil will just be eternally alive, traded and used by different people. But Denji's just dumbfounded as he's like, no, that can't be. I made a promise with Makima that if I killed the gun devil. And then as he's having this thought, Aki just starts kind of convulsing as he gets another vision from the future devil, and he looks like he's in a lot of pain. And we cut from here to them being back at the house and it being the middle of the night where only Aki is awake. And as Aki sits up in his bed, he tells the future devil to show itself. And so the future devil does, and he's like, hey man, I show up when you say that the future rules. And he's like, dude, don't be ridiculous right now. No, not after what you showed me. What the fuck was that? And the future devil says, an unavoidable future, a soon future, a future where Denji will slaughter both you and Power, and then the devil that devils fear most will come to be. And this shit is getting more fucked up by the moment. I have no words for where this is going, and I am not very happy about it. Oh, I knew that the future devil saw way back that we saw in the anime was talking about how it's going to be one of the worst futures ever, and it even got him the contract just because he wanted to have a front row seat with it. The future devil just wanted to see what's going on, but oh, please don't be correct. Please be like one of those shonen things where it's like, oh, this future's unavoidable. You can't break this future. And then the main character breaks the future. Please, that's all I need. I do not need Denji to kill Power and Aki. This is nuh-uh. No, you can't trick me. And so we're on to the next, where Aki is sitting in the hospital visiting Angel, and Angel has apparently just been told about what's happening and what future that Aki just saw, and he's just kind of like, what do you expect me to do? Do you expect me to change the future when I don't even have any hands? Because he did lose his mittens. In fact, he lost his entire arms. So, and Aki says, no, I'm here to talk about what's to happen after my death. Because you have no arms, and we both know what happens to devils that the Public Safety Division has deemed unuseful and unnecessary. But, and he hands him a piece of paper. This is a letter of recommendation from me and Master Kishibe, recommending you as a devil to make contracts with. So maybe you can stay alive even after I'm gone by making contracts like the Future Devil or the Fox Devil. And as Aki turns to walk out of this hospital, doing what he thought was right, Angel tells him that the nurses say that Aki Hayakawa is one of the biggest haters of Devil across the world, and that the rumors seem to not be as true as everyone claims. And so as he's walking out, he says, "Bye. I'm going to see the Gun Devil tomorrow, and this might be the last time you ever see me." But he stopped, as Angel says that the people that they've used their powers on haunt them in their dreams and in their nightmares. They call out to him and persistently nag at him every single day, and that he's worried that if he just sits there and watches Hayakawa die, that Aki will become one of those people in his dreams and nightmares gnawing at him. And so he says that he wants to do everything in his power to help Aki stay alive, and suggests that they go and see Makima because she might, keyword might, know some way to avoid this future. And so we see them walking on a beach as Angel says that they're thirsty and asks for Aki to give them some water because, they have no arms, so it's not like they can get the water by themselves, so they need a little bit of assistance. And as they're walking down the beach, they're wondering to each other, why is Makima at a beach the day before the fight with the Gun Devil? This doesn't really make any sense. What is she, chilling? Is this a vacation? And Angel's like, well, it seems like with Makima, she's either thinking about absolutely nothing or the very worst things imaginable, with no in between. And Angel changes the subject, saying, "I do know one way that you won't be killed by Chainsaw Man." And Aki's like, "How?" And Angel says, "Run. Run away from here. Run far, far, far away. You can't be killed by Chainsaw Man if you do that. You can go and live a normal life." And Aki's like, yeah, whatever. And Angel's like, "No, I'm not joking. I'm serious. You're not like me. You're not a devil. You could go and get a job and just live a normal life for the rest of your days." And Aki's like, "No, I'll pass." He's like, "Well, why?" And Aki's like, "Well, I have Denji here, and I have power here, and Makima too." And Angel's like, "Makima? Oh, yeah. You have a crush on Makima, don't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And Angel's like, "Why do you have a crush on Makima?" And it seems like Aki can't even really remember. He's like, "Why do I like Makima?" But at that point, they actually run into her on the beach, and they start waving at each other. And as they show up, Aki's like, "Miss Makima, what are you doing out here?" And Makima's like, "Well, I'm waiting." And Aki's like, "For us?" And she's like, "No, not for you too. What do you guys want? What are y'all here for?" And Aki says, "Well, I had a talk with the Future Devil, and he told me of a future that's coming to pass. Whatever happens, I just want Denji and power to survive. My brother's death was my fault. I'll do anything. I'll make any contract with any devil." And Makima looks over at Aki and says, "Hayakawa, make a contract with me then." She says, "If you give me all of you, I will give you the strength that you need." And Aki's like, what are you talking about? Because you can only make contracts with devils. It's not like you can just make a contract with another person, or people will be making contracts willy-nilly. And Makima just cuts him off and says, "Hayakawa, this is an order. Make a contract with me." And shit is getting spooky. Shit is making a turn, and I don't necessarily like where it's going. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. This is not steering in the direction that I wanted the ship to go, and I'm kind of upset for what's near to come. But at this point, we actually zoom in on Angel, as Angel's having a flashback and wonders why it is that until now they had forgotten forgotten the person that taught them to swim as they remember their face, forgotten about the people that took them in, forgotten about the people that gave him shelter, the person that taught him how to dive into the sea, the people that showed him kindness and love even though he was a devil, the person that he himself loved. How had he forgotten? Why had he forgotten what Makima did to him? As we see Makima walk up to him on this beach, a young angel, and tell him to show her his powers. And Angel says, I don't want to show you my powers. When I use my powers, people die, and I don't like that. And he looks her in the eyes as she tells him, this is an order. Show me what you can do. And as he comes to, he realizes that he has just killed everyone who had been showing him kindness. His lover, his friends, anyone who taught him anything, everyone he knew, he was forced to betray and kill without himself even being conscious for it. And we come back to the last page of this chapter as we see Angel staring at Aki, as Aki, wide-eyed, determined, with grit, tells Makima that he will make a contract with her. Oh, I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. This is worst case scenario. I cannot stress this enough. What is Makima, and what is she doing to my guy? What is she doing to my boy Aki? What is going down? I'm not a fan. What did she do to Angel? What contracts does Makima have to be able to literally force people to do whatever she wants and they don't even remember? Because that's what seems like is happening to Aki right now. It seems like since she said that it's an order, he's went not wide-eyed in determination like I originally thought, but wide-eyed as a mindless slave, as a puppet, bided to doing her bidding. What is this and what is she doing? And so we come to Angel screaming at Makima, screaming Makima's name as he gets ready to charge her, even though he has no arms to speak of. And Makima just says, that's a shame. You remembered, didn't you? As he summons one of his swords into his mouth and grips it with his teeth like he's fucking Roanoa Zorro and charges at her, saying usage 10 years, getting ready to slice her head off. I'm talking the blade is right at her throat. But as he approaches her and as the blade is right there, Makima simply says, down. And with those words, Angel falls to the floor, unable to get back up. And she says, I'm impressed that you broke free of my powers, as she crouches down to him and looks him in the eye again and says, say you'll give me all of you. And Angel, without any hesitation, does. And she walks away, and I'm unsure what has just happened to Angel. I'm unsure if Angel is gone, if he was absorbed by Makima. I don't know what's happened because he's not in the next panel, but wow, what the heck? And she says that this is just something that couldn't be helped. She didn't want to do this, and she's sorry to the both of them, but there's a plethora of spies going around Japan right now, and words have already been leaked about their plans. And she says that it was rather meaningless, even if it was just a bluff, and that unfortunately, things have taken the course that will result in the most destruction. And we cut to, of all places, the White House in America, as we see the President of the United States saying that they have to kill and stop Makima by whatever means necessary. Because if they do not, if they fail, that the most terrible version of peace will befall the entire world, whatever that's supposed to mean. And so the president gives us one of his famous speeches that I will read right off the page so that I don't sully his good image. And he says, it looks like the other nations have already given up. No, it's probably more accurate to say they've accepted it. Fearing and strengthening Makima is nothing less than the history of humanity. But the land of the free rests on my shoulders, my citizens. Everything, even resistance, may be but a step on a predictable course. I cannot simply surrender without so much as a whimper. Forgive my foolish decision. Gun Devil, I'll give you 1 year of the lifespans of the American people. In exchange, I want you to kill Makima, that is, the control devil. Wow. Wow. Did I say wow? I just in case I didn't. Wow, what the frick did I just read? Okay, cinema, first off. Perfect speech. Yo, what the fuck? Makima's the control devil? Is she the control devil? Or is she the control fiend? Or is she like a control hybrid? Either way, I can see her powers make sense now. I understand it now, type shit. Wow, I'm baffled. I am at a loss of words, but the chapter must go on as we actually cut back to Makima, i.e. the control devil herself, apparently, as she says, "Come." At 3:18:21 p.m., the gun devil hits the city of Nikaho in Akita Prefecture, Japan, from off the coast for about 12 seconds. The following is a recording of the behaviors of the gun devil. Immediately upon appearance. Ability activation. Ability to fire a bullet through the head of every adult male within approximately 1,000 meters of the gun devil confirmed. Ability to fire a bullet through the head of every child ages 0 through 12 within approximately 1,500 meters of the gun devil confirmed. And after such, we get an incredibly high death toll, with Fujimoto giving us about 270 names just on the rest of this chapter, which were just dedicated to saying those names and some absolutely cinematic, gorgeous pictures of the gun devil. Well, I don't know if I can call them gorgeous, because Jesus Christ, this dude is hideous. But they are really cool. They almost make me forget the overwhelming urge I have to vomit upon the realization that Makima has just been using everyone all this time. I mean, I've been getting the vibes, but what the fuck? This is tough, man. Oh my god. I don't know what's about to happen to Aki. He made a contract with Makima, and I have no clue what the contract was or what's about to happen from it, so I'm kind of scared for the next couple chapters, so But alright, on to the next chapter, and yeah, it's a different day. I had to take a break and try to figure out my Ethernet situation, but I'm working on it. It's almost there. But we start off the next chapter by looking at some kid just telling his mom that he's going to go play soccer with his friends, and she gives him a coin and tells him to buy some drinks for him and his friends. I don't really know what this has to do with the rest of the chapter, because I already peeked forward, a good little bit. I don't think we see this kid again, so maybe I'm wrong and he's just, in the background, or maybe, unfortunately, he's going to be one of the character deaths, because this chapter continues from the last chapter of just being a long line of obituaries. And at 3:18:22, the gun devil advances towards Makima, leaving a giant trail of destruction in its wake, leaving buildings collapsed and streets torn apart. And at 3:18:23, Makima sights the gun devil about 500 kilometers away. And I suppose the gun devil sights it too, because it seems to start picking up speed as it leaves craters in the ground where people once were and crashes through the entirety of Japan. And at 3:18:25, the gun devil stops and prepares for ability activation to open gunfire on Makima. And at 3:18:26, Makima prepares to activate devil ability contracts, and we see her 29th death. But this does not slow her at all. As she gets shot through the head, one of the pieces of her brain leaks out and forms a halo over her head, which is kind of fucking metal. You know, I kind of hate Makima right now, but that's neat. And at 3:18:27, we see Makima activates her ability as she chains to the corpses of Akane Sawatari, of the Spider Devil, of the Angel Devil, of Aki, of Tendo, and of Kurase, as she forces them to use anti-mortem devil contracts with the devils that they either are or are contracted to, with Tendo and Kurase being forced to make a contract or use their contract with the Punishment Devil, with Aki being forced to use his contract with the Future Devil, and with Akane Sawatari being forced to use her contract with the Snake Devil, and just flat out using the Angel Devil and the Spider Devil for contracts. And at 3:18:27, we see as a portal opens up right above the Gun Devil, and through this portal comes an amalgamation of hands, of heads, and these hands holding cleavers, as the portal is as big as the Gun Devil, gigantic in size, enormous, and it comes down onto him. And after we see this battle that's basically taken place over the course of 5, maybe 10 milliseconds at most, we black screen and we cut back to Denji, who's yawning as he hears a knock at the door. But who is this knock at the door? Because he thinks it's Aki, but I think otherwise. And as he gets out of the bed, he wakes up Power and says, hey, he's finally back home. And he walks over, he yawns, and he goes to answer the door, but Pochita comes gnawing at him from inside of his mind, from behind the door, locked in his subconscious, and tells him, don't open this door either. And so we see Denji just staring at this door while the doorbell is just ringing over and over and over and over again. And Power's like, hey man, aren't you gonna answer that? I'm trying to sleep and that noise is getting on my nerves. Why aren't you answering it? And Denji's like, oh, well, the phone's ringing, just give me a minute, but do not answer that door, just do not. And Power's like, why not? But Denji's just like, trust me. And he picks up the phone, which is ringing, and it's Makima on the other end. And he's like, oh, Miss Makima, what's going on? And Makima says that there was a battle with the Gun Devil, and the Gun Devil possessed one of the corpses and took over one of the corpses at the battle and has headed towards Denji's apartment and is now ringing the doorbell there. But Denji's just kind of confused and with nervous laughter's like, oh, come on, this isn't funny, you know, that's not really a funny joke, Miss Makima. I don't see why the stupid gun fiend would be at our apartment, why he'd be at my door. And Makima just cuts off his joke and says, Denji, when you fight this time, do not think about anything, which is not foreboding at all. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not creepy. That doesn't make me think that somebody we know and love has been taken over by the Gun Devil. I don't know what you're talking about. And so the doorbell just keeps on dinging and keeps on dinging, and Power's like, why can't we answer it? What's going on? And Denji's just like, oh, right, well, Miss Makima just called, and apparently the gun fiend's outside of our door, so that's something. And Power's like, dude, you're talking crazy right now. What are you even talking about? And he's like, no, really, Makima told me, so it has to be true. And Power's like, dude, you're an idiot. And Power says, Top Knot still hasn't come home, remember? It's Aki ringing the doorbell. Don't be crazy. And so she leans around the corner and she says, hey, Aki, that's you, right? But when she does, the ringing just stops and it goes silent. And Denji realizes that something is definitely wrong here. And so he tells Power to grab Meowie and jump off the balcony right now as he goes to approach the door, and he opens it to find Aki possessed by the gun fiend. Wow, this is fucked up. Wow, this is this is messed up, dude. I don't even know what to say about this. Words cannot describe the type of feelings that I have currently towards Makima and towards this manga as a whole. There's no way they took Aki, made his entire life obsession to take down the gun fiend, made his entire purpose to get revenge on the thing that killed his parents and killed his brother. And as he's finally zeroing in on this revenge, Makima forces him to have a contract with the Gun Devil, because you're not pulling the wool over my eyes. I know the Gun Devil didn't just escape and take over Aki's body. Makima's done showed her true colors. I know what's happened. She definitely made Aki make a contract with the Gun Devil or some crazy shit. I don't know, but this shit is not cool. No way they revealed Aki 47. What the hell, dude? And as Denji looks at this version of Aki through the doorway, who has a giant pistol barrel coming out of his forehead and has the arm that he lost from the Darkness Devil replaced by a rifle, he's like, oh, I guess Makima was serious, huh? What do we fight now? Kind of nervous, not really understanding the situation, I guess in a little bit of denial, and Aki just says Denji as he raises a rifle, and Denji's like, how do you know my name? I guess not realizing who is the fiend and who's been taken over, because, you know, Aki's hair is down, or maybe he's just in denial. And suddenly the scene changes, the landscape changes, and the people change, and Aki 47, the gun fiend, is now just a child, and it's Aki whenever he was a kid, and he's standing in the snow with Denji, who is also a kid, and Aki's wondering why he even went outside. It's so cold, but he sees Denji and he realizes, oh yeah, we were having a snowball fight, as he loads one up and throws it at Denji. And as he throws this snowball, we come back to reality, with the snowball in reality being a bullet. As he blasts Denji so hard, he flies out of the apartment and loses his legs. As he lies on the ground, he pulls his ripcord, and I guess he's just trying to regenerate from this grievous wound that was just inflicted. And Power's like, oh shit, my apartment, you know? And she's like, my apartment, what's going on? What's happening? And Denji's like, Power, you gotta get out of here. It really was the gun fiend. And Power's like, no, that's not possible, because it was Aki's scent at the door. And Denji, realizing what's going on and realizing the severity of the situation, just tells Power not to lie to him, because he can't take that right now. But as he says this, the gun fiend flies out of the apartment and towards Denji, or more accurately, towards Power, who I suppose he thinks that he can just finish off and get back to fighting with Denji. But Denji flies over there so fast we don't even see it happen, and holds Power in one arm as he fends off the gun fiend with the other. And so now we start cutting from points of views, because we see that in Aki's mind, he's still that child, even though Denji and Power are still the same age that they were. And in Aki's mind, they're just teaming up on him for a snowball fight, and that's all this is. So he tells Power that she's on Team Denji, and he loads up another one and goes to throw it at them as they just stand there, blank-faced, staring. And so we start seeing this fight from other perspectives, like Aki's, as from his perspective, they're still in his mind, and it's still snowing, and they're still just trying to have a snowball fight like good friends would do. But Power and Denji are still their same age. They're not kids like Aki in this, and they're just staring at him kind of blank face for now. And we cut back to reality as he throws this snowball, and it happens to be an actual bullet. And Denji dodges, and they start fighting in real life. But as Denji and Aki are letting shots off towards each other, in reality, Aki turns his head and sees that there is a married couple on the floor trying to scamper away, not knowing what's going on, not understanding. As in his mind, Aki turns his head as a child and asks, do you want to play with us? But in reality, he raises his rifle arm and goes to blast these people away, and he does, as Denji screams, stop it. This isn't you. This isn't who you are. This is the last thing that you would want to do, as he rushes towards Aki, and he makes a couple of blows towards him. We don't see Aki's actual body take these blows, but in his mind, Kid Aki says, hey, you got me. So I assume that Denji at least landed a couple. And so Aki's just gunning civilians down in a snowball fight that he thinks everybody is a part of, as he just shoots through buildings and shoots through civilians as if they were fodder. And eventually, Denji actually catches up to him and is able to jump in front of one of the bullets and misdirect it into a different direction, actually saving the life of the girl that he jumped in front of, which is nice and all, but Aki doesn't understand still. He's still trying to shoot random civilians, and Denji's just trying to protect them. And as Denji calls out to Aki, telling him that this is not him, this is not what he would want to do, it's the last thing he'd want to do, telling him to snap out of it, calling him a jerk face, anything that would bring his friend back to the surface, we cut back into Aki's mind, where him and Denji are still just kids, having a snowball fight like friends, like good friends would, and he says that this is the most fun he's ever had. He's never had this much fun because his mom and his dad are always fussing over his little brother, and they never pay any attention to him. But right now, in this moment, as he snowball fights with his best friend, it seems like his life has finally gotten a little bit interesting. As we cut back to reality, and Denji lies sprawled out on the floor with gunshot wounds. And we cut back to Kid Aki as he watches as his friend's lying on the floor and his mind down from a snowball, in reality down from a gunshot wound. And he says, giving up already? As Denji stands back up and rears his head, ready to get back into the fight. But as Denji sprints towards Aki, trying to get to him and get through to his friend, and at this point maybe even have to kill his friend, Aki says that's more like it, as he lets off another shot that pierces through Denji's gut. And in his mindscape, Aki glances down at his hands and says, my hands are getting really cold, as Denji sprints at him as Chainsaw Man and screams, turn back, turn back, turn back into Aki! But Aki does not hear him and lets another shot ring out of his head gun as it blasts through the city and levels the landscape. And we cut to Denji surviving the explosion, surviving the blast, but having his legs gone, as a couple of people start walking up to Chainsaw Man with a knife, and we start thinking, is this the worst case scenario? But as the men, women, and elderly walk over to Denji, who's lying there still in his Chainsaw Man form with no legs and only one arm, they hold this knife, and at the very last second we see as they're slitting their own hands to bleed into Denji's mouth. And the lady says, please, save us. And the crowd starts saying things like, we've seen you on TV, we seen you battling against the bomb devil, we saw you saving people, please save us, we don't want to die. As one of the people is carrying his friends and says, help us, please. And as Denji stands back up, he stares over at Aki, who's now walking him down as the gun fiend. And we cut back into Aki's mindscape, where he's taking a bunch of snowballs from Denji, just time after time after time, and he's laughing and saying, great shots, you're doing great. But when he actually wipes the snow off of his face and looks over, he's awestruck, as he says, wait, why are you crying? As Denji's face is full of tears, he throws these snowballs, and he says, I've never seen you cry before. What is this? And as he realizes the severity of what's going on, not quite, but realizes that it's a bit deeper than just a snowball fight, and that Denji's actually getting upset over this, he lies down in the snow and says, okay, I lose, you win. I don't like doing snowball fights anyways, they just make your hands cold. And suddenly, Denji's gone, and Aki can't find him anywhere, but he hears something out in the distance calling to him, saying, big brother, and he looks over as his little brother's running back from their childhood home, holding something in his hands as he says, I got them. I got the ball and gloves. And we see Aki's face as he says, that's right, I wanted to play catch. And then we cut back to reality, where Denji has stabbed through Aki with his chainsaws and has Aki in his arms as he now bleeds to death. And as the chainsaws melt away and Denji falls to his knees in front of Aki's lifeless body, we see the future devil standing on top of a rooftop nearby saying, "Aki Hawakawa, you died in the worst imaginable way for the Chainsaw Boy." And we flash to Aki's mindscape, where it might not even be his mindscape anymore, it might just be heaven, as he lives out his dream of having one more game of catch with his little brother. And there it is. As much as I hate to leave it on such a somber note, I don't think we're ever going to not have a somber note again, because things are going downhill, and they're going downhill fast. And Denji had to deal with Aki's death this time. It says that he's going to be the one to kill Power. And I just know something's about to go down with Makima. So things are getting out of hand. I see what people are talking about now when they say that Denji's just not allowed to be happy. First it was Reze, then it was Aki, now it's gonna be Power, then it's gonna be Makima. Bro just can't catch a break, and wow, my heart breaks for the guy. I hate to see this, and I hope something goes back to normal. I hope something happens. I hope that Power doesn't die. Spoiler, Power's my favorite character. I love how fucking crazy she is. She's goofy as hell. But yeah, I'm gonna go read the next 1,000 chapters real quick and cry myself to sleep if Power dies, and maybe even cry myself to sleep anyways, because what the fuck did I just witness? But with all of that being said, and with this video coming up to a close, I appreciate anybody who stayed to this point and watched, and I appreciate all of you staying and watching any of my videos. I love it. I love making these videos for you, even if they end with my heart being broken. Chainsaw Man is becoming one of my favorite IPs of all time. It was already pretty up there, but with only one season of the anime, it could only be so far in the top 10. But with all of that, go down below, leave a comment, let me know what you think is going to happen. Let me know if you hope that Power's going to survive too. Try not to spoil anything if you already know, but I'm hoping and I'm praying that my girl Power makes it out of this one alive. And hopefully you hit that like button if you liked the video. I'd like to see some more likes. It makes me feel good, makes me feel motivated to make the next video. And same goes for that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified anytime that I make an upload about a volume review. We're going to be going all the way through Chainsaw Man, and then maybe we'll be able to cover some theories and make us some theories of our own, and I'll be able to take some of y'all's theories into consideration. Maybe we'll make a whole video on what y'all in the comments really think about this manga and what y'all think is going to be happening next. But with all of that, I've been Shit for Brains. Peace out, guys.